First, live, local. This is Fox 12 Now.
Yes, indeed, this is Fox 12 Now, and this is the perfect shot for right now for the subject that we're going to be talking about today. That is live at Newport. That is our camera out there. I love that one, and it also looks very nice out there. Hello, I'm Greg Nibbler. Like I said, Fox 12 Now. Appreciate you joining in, and one of the great things we get to do here is have awesome conversations with cool people about cool things, and that's what we're doing right now. I love it when we get to talk to the Oregon Zoo, and today we're specifically going to be talking about marine life and everything associated with that, and I have no better expert than who is joining me right now, Nicole Nicasio-Hiskey, who is the Senior Marine Life Keeper at the Oregon Zoo. I hope I got that title right.
Yeah.
Nicole, thank you very much for joining us today. Appreciate you being here. And I think, to start off, let's talk about that title and your role and what exactly is that?
I guess it just means I'm older, right? No, so Senior Keeper of Marine Life based.
Oh, did I have it wrong?
Means I'm kind of like, no. I kind of help run the day in our area, in our animal area. And so we do have the marine mammals in our area, which includes polar bears, the harbor seals, and the sea otters. And then we have marine fish and invertebrates. But we also do take care of the tiger and the red panda. So it's not really marine life, but it's very close to our building, so we care for those animals too. So we have a great team that comes to work with our animals every day, and I'm kind of the point person on the ground, scheduling and doing all of that. So, and I have been here a long time. I've been here 21 years, so.
That's how you get the senior. I mean, you have to earn that.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, that is a lot of varied animal life that you are taking care of there, from polar bears and then tigers thrown in too. So,
yeah.
How did you find that you wanted to do this line of work? Like, where did you find your passion to go into this?
That's a great question. I was inspired actually by a marine biologist in grade school. In my first grade class, we were learning about animal camouflage, and we were coloring in pictures. And one of my good friends in my class, her dad was a marine biologist. And in my grade school years, I spent some time in Santa Barbara, California. So he had offered to meet our class at the beach and talk about the animals that live in the tide pools. So we learned about camouflage. We went to the beach. We were waiting for him to show up, and we really, as kids, didn't see much. And then when he arrived, he started pointing out all of these animals, including an octopus. And from that moment on, I was hooked. I knew I wanted to work with animals and the ocean.
Like, you knew that young, this is what you wanted to do.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And so you followed through with that, ended up specifically, working with all these animals, making your way to the Oregon Zoo and being a part of that. Tell us a little bit more about the marine life, at the Oregon Zoo and what all goes on there.
So the hub of the marine life, it takes place at Stellar Cove, and that's where we have our marine fish and invertebrates and our 3 wonderful harbor seals and our 3 southern sea otters. And then pretty adjacent to Stellar Cove in our new polar passage habitat, we have our 2 amazing polar bears. And then, of course, we have our tiger and our red panda that are part of the older building where Stellar Cove was built. They're actually it's part of the oldest building left on the zoo campus. So we take care of those 2 animals as well. So day to day, we have a team of about 4 or 5 keepers that come in, and we do everything from do all their food prep for them. They eat a lot of seafood, clean their habitats and put out new toys or enrichment, and then do lots of enrichment and training with them. What you're seeing right now is something we call shape training, which is evolved into window work. And the seals absolutely are amazing at it. We train them to, we assign them a shape so that it's kind of like their name tag. So like Tongass, our male seal, is the star. So anytime he sees the star, he knows he needs to go to the star, and he ignores the other shapes. And then we dropped it below water, and you can see we've transferred their behaviors that we do on deck with them and we've taken those below water so the guests can enjoy. I think one thing I've learned is working with animals and the guests and the public over so many years is people just don't realize how intelligent these animals are. And it's our job to make sure that they stay challenged and stimulated day to day. So this is an example of one thing we might do to keep them, involved and interested.
I mean, that's pretty amazing, just seeing what you're able to do right there. Just following it. Yeah. See, I'm enthralled by that now. I just keep wanting to watch that. But I mean, and that's just what part of what this is. I want to get back to talking more about the animals at the zoo specifically, but I know I want to address too that it was World Ocean Day last week. And can you tell everyone a little bit about what that is and what kind of what's important about that?
Yeah, just, World Oceans Day is an opportunity for us to celebrate the oceans and the ecology in it and how important the oceans are for not only the animals living in it, but also for humans and for us to take care of it. So we did different activities throughout the day, talked about the animals and how they're impacted by, pollution and climate change and other issues like that. So it was just an opportunity for us to share and engage with some themed talks with the guests. It's a super busy season for school kids right now. So anytime we can inspire school kids or get them interested, that's a great time to do it. So having these themed weeks is really, really great. One thing we really talk a lot about, and we're working with the Alaka Alliance, is possibly looking at what would it mean if we brought sea otters back to the Oregon coast. They have been extinct off the Oregon coast for over 100 years, and they are what is considered an apex predator. And what that means is that, or a keystone predator. So they're at the top of the food chain, and if they disappear out of the food chain, then everything under them is impacted. And people may not even realize that we had sea otters off the Oregon coast and they thrived. But they have an amazing fur pelt on them. And so they were hunted because of their pelts. And I believe the last one was hunted like in, the late 1800s, early 1900s. So the Alaka Alliance is a great organization. And they're going and doing all of this work and trying to figure out, okay, how would it impact the ecology and what would it mean if we brought sea otters back to the Oregon coast? And it's looking like, it would benefit. It would help bring back a lot of other species of animals. For instance, sea otters love to eat sea urchins. So if you take sea otters out of the picture, sea urchin populations just explode. And sea urchins love to eat kelp. And kelp beds are really, really important to have. They're basically underwater forests. And so just like land forests, they serve purposes. Nurseries, they help with erosion. Even they help slow down waves that would impact erosion. And they're hiding places for animals. They're food for animals. And kelp forests are pretty much have been impacted because sea otters have gone extinct off the Oregon coast. So they're doing a great effort right now. We're partnering with them to get the message out there that sea otters are not only adorable and super fun and would probably bring in the tourists, but they also, they serve an important ecological role in the marine environment. So
what would that entail if you were to release them back? Like, how would that actually happen?
Yeah, and that's part of the big challenge, right? So the Monterey Bay Aquarium has an amazing program where they take rescued or stranded pups and they put them with a surrogate mom. And so it's all keepers hands off. They don't want food to ever be associated with a human being, because then those animals can become imprinted or they can become a safety problem if they get released back out into the wild. So they do have moms that serve as surrogates, teach the pups to hunt or dive and hunt and go after certain foods, and then they're re-released. And it's been super successful. So that's one way that you could reintroduce otters off the Oregon coast, is you could take some of those pups that have been raised by surrogates and place them out. but you can also, relocate large populations. Alaska is doing really well. Their population of sea otters is doing quite well. So it might be an opportunity to go and relocate some sea otters. But you have to address all the ethical things and, how it's going to impact marine communities and local fishermen and stuff like that. So they're doing a really good job of involving all of the marine, the coastal communities and groups of people that need to have a voice in this commitment because it will impact people. So, and Oregon, the great thing about Oregon is that we were kind of the mixing zone for the northern sea otters, which live in Washington and Alaska and off the coast of Canada, of course, and the southern sea otters, which live off the coast of California. So if we got a little bit of both subspecies, that would be completely fine in what we had before.
Wow, that would be cool. I was gonna say I think Alaska is the only place that I've ever actually seen sea otters in the wild, and it's pretty incredible. So that would be obviously a lot of studying, left to be done, but that'd be pretty cool. Speaking of otters too, I do have this right here, which clearly social media superstar. I believe this is Juno. Is that who that is?
Yes, this is Juno, and she actually was gifted that basketball by the Harlem Globetrotters because she is so famous. So Juno, even she's not really an older otter, but she's like more of a teenage otter, and she is starting to show some signs of arthritis in her elbows. So our vets, after determining this in an exam, asked us to do some physical therapy with her, and so we were like, well, what does that look like for a sea otter? And they said, well, believe it or not, swimming is really helpful. So being an otter, she's got that pretty much covered. But also stretching her front limb joints would be beneficial. So we're like, well, basketball, that seems like a natural, fun behavior. And the public loves it. She absolutely loves it. If she gets her hands on a ball or her paws on a ball, she just tries to dunk it. So that's how she gets her exercise for her elbows every day. But it's also turned into a really great social media project as well.
Oh yeah. I mean, those things, I've seen that reposted everywhere. I mean, who doesn't want to watch that over and over? Like, I'm going to watch this afterward. I mean, that's really great on its own right too. When it comes to the Oregon Zoo, and everything that you're doing there with all this amazing work, like what are the big things that you want the public to know about your work?
Yeah, great question. So, and actually we asked ourselves that question when we built Polar Passage, which opened a couple years ago. We really wanted to showcase or display what the animals are capable of doing and what important role zoos can play in conservation. So we brought a lot of our training and our animal work so that the public could see it. So for people who haven't been to the Oregon Zoo yet or have visited and have seen our office space with a polar bear crate in it, that was intentional so that the work we do with them for conservation research can be on display. So people walk away from the zoo realizing that, yes, these animals are here to teach people about what is a polar bear, what does a polar bear look like. But it's so much bigger than that because we really have to put energy and time and effort into preserving their environments and talk about the impacts we're having on their environment. So, and one of the things I'm probably most proud of in my career here is how we've been able to contribute to polar bear research. Polar bears are very difficult to study out in the wild. It's very cold where they live. It's very expensive to get there. The window of time where researchers can go up there is a very, limited time. It's, and it's dangerous working with polar bears. We do not go in with the polar bears. We always have a protective barrier between us and the bears. So we were successful in 2011 at getting the very first voluntary blood draw from a polar bear in the entire world. And after we were able to do that, and the bears very willingly participated, we reached out to the researchers and said, hey, we can do this. Would this be helpful? And we started getting lots of interest from polar bear researchers. And so from then, it's kind of, the program's just grown, not only to our zoo, but to other zoos as well too. We've been able to, mentor people on what kinds of equipment they need and how they need to go about training to get voluntary blood draws. And it's turned into a pretty big program. So we're working a lot with USGS and just really trying to contribute any way we can to make their lives easier out there in the wild. So we test equipment for them so that they can have it working and know that it's working when they take it up to the Arctic, so that they don't have to troubleshoot that part of it when they're there. It's already done. And it's been really educational and enriching for the staff, but also for the guests, because we have information to share about how we've contributed to conservation. So it's been really exciting.
That's amazing. That is so much that you are doing. That is not a, that's a lot that you are kind of being the point person for in running there. So you've earned the senior title. That is definitely it. We've established that. Well, Nicole, thank you very much too for joining us here today. I love talking to everyone at the zoo and finding out more about what it is that everyone does and all these really important things that you're doing and sharing them here on the show. If you have anything else too in the future you want to talk about, please come back. Would love to talk more. I can
absolutely.
Hear you talk about otters and polar bears and everything else that you're doing all day. So this is great.
Okay,
but yeah,
great.
Nicole, thank you very much for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me. It was great.
Awesome. All right, that is Nicole Cascio-Hiskey. They're from the Oregon Zoo. So cool. I love having these conversations. Love having all of you watching too and joining us again wherever you found us, whether that's on YouTube or whether you're on one of our apps, whatever platform. Just remember that you can always come here every weekday at 1 p.m. Pacific. That's when we start our coverage, and then we have all kinds of things. It's different every day. Different things, different conversations we get to have. And you can always email me, fox12now@kptv.com, and let me know if you think there's something that we should be covering, or you want a deeper dive on, or you want to find out more about. You want to know more about polar bears, an entire polar bear segment. Let me know. Maybe we can make that happen. But thank you all for joining. I'm going to sign off right now. I'm Greg Nibbler. This is Fox 12 Now.
That was great.
Oh, good.
That was awesome.